back, friend. Now we are going to take a look at the introduction to your circuitry and your gates. The circuitry really is super important because basically what it does is it really gives us a look at how the frequency is represented in our human design. And I'm going to give you the introduction to this prior to jumping into every single gate, every single line, and giving all of the keynoting. Because if you don't understand the big picture view, it's really hard to dive deep into the energy of it. So now that I've been in human design for 7+ years, it's really important for me to share with you the depth and the profundity that Ra could never ever express, because 30 years ago his students were not at the stage that we are now on this planet. And that is not to say anything good or bad about it. It just is what it is. The energy 30 years ago is not what it is today. So the circuit board itself, really, we are but electric beings in a sea of moving particles and waves that collapse into the creation of our illusion. So the blueprint of our design becomes our unique expression of the whole universe. Now again, drop into this because I say this a lot. Your activations in your chart, this is the blueprint of your design, and this becomes the unique expression of your universal whole. So we are designed to be self-reflected beings. We are designed to be aware. We are designed to be awake. We are designed to watch our physical bodies interact on this plane. And then when we can come to that self-awareness, then there is this self-reflection, because we can recognize, I am meeting those that have the ability to take action and to communicate in a very fixed way. That's what a throat center that's undefined or totally open would indicate. So in that self-reflected, what is the wisdom that you are designed to learn from that other being? And then you get to come to a self-reflected aspect and go, oh, okay, now that's the wisdom that I need to take away from this interaction. And because of that, then you get to, implement that wisdom how you need to in your life. So to awaken to the unique expression of source energy through you without the mind getting in the way. The conditioned mind will try its very hardest to be noisy and incessantly speaking and nattering and chattering and trying to get in the way. So we are designed to interact with others. We are designed to be abundant. Okay? We are designed to be abundant. Now, I'm not saying abundance is only money. Abundance is so much more than that. Being rich with money is one thing. Being rich with integrity, being rich with uniqueness, that, my friends, is something completely different. So we are designed to experience life with no resistance. We are here to have differentiated definition. So when we look at the human design body graph, the centers, that's the noun. It's the hub of the energy. The channel is the verb. It's the strength. It's the action word. And then the adjectives provide a nuance to the action and the noun. So definition is a concept. Definition is the foundation of everything in human design. It determines your type, your strategy, your authority, what is consistent and reliable, and what you can trust. So the not-self mind sees inconsistency and fights against consistency, your definition. So of course the not-self mind is designed to see inconsistency. Why? Because the not-self is working through the open centers. And because of that, the open centers, the not-self is the spokesperson for that. Well, our not-self open centers, okay? Our openness is designed to be inconsistent. We are designed to let a plethora, many different people's energy flow through us. We are designed to bring in the neutrino ocean through those centers and those channels and those gates that are absolutely undefined in the body graph. But what happens is the mind sees this inconsistency, and then it tries to fight against it. Because the mind, the not-self mind, wants consistency. Well, what we're teaching is this. The consistency happens when we can focus the mind in on self-awareness and a self-reflected consciousness. So all of a sudden, the inconsistency that's out there doesn't take away the focus, doesn't take away the view and the perspective. The inconsistency is the juice. It's where we're designed to have self-awareness. Excuse me. So definition, the uniqueness of the life force. So the life force, your life, your characteristics. We have no consistent life force without definition. So 36 channels, there's juxtaposition of the gates, so one on one end, one on the other end. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Channels are a living thing in the world. So openness is the receptor, everyone else's life force. Define life force, most gates are part of a definition. Open life force, many hanging gates in open centers. Strategy and authority are expressions of our life force. So even though you are possibly a reflector or an evaluator, does not mean that you do not have life force. It is an open life force. Basically what it is doing, it is waiting to be activated, and then, it's kind of like a, I got, how many apps do I have right now on my computer? Tons. Are they all activated? No. Because at the moment, they don't need to be activated. I'm not requiring them. So it's kind of that way with an evaluator or a reflector. You're sitting there. You're waiting to have someone kind of dock up to you on the other end, meaning, interact with you, pull you out, and use you correctly. Now, I'm not just saying you sit around do nothing, that this open life force is like totally dormant and like you should, be hiding or anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in order for that life force to present itself, it's through interaction for you. So definition is narrow. It is life force and allows differentiation. So we have centers, the red and black gates and traits. So the gate, the channel, the gate, the line, the color, the tone, the base, the planet, the gate at the other end. There's so much information here. The line, the color, the tone, the base, right? The planets or the nodes. There's a ton of information happening here, and it allows for differentiation. So what definition does is it actually narrows it down, because there's 1,080 possible variations per line and gate activation. because each gate has a line, and each line has a color, each color has a tone, each tone has a base. So it's like, not each line has a color, tone, and base. It's each gate has a color, tone, and base. Each gate has a line, color, tone, and base. So what happens here is that it narrows it down to one, particular aspect, one variation of how this is going to work. And I say one meaning, really. So say you have base 5, you have tone 6, you have color 5, and line 1 and gate 53. So there's a lot of variation happening there, but it's one aspect of the 1,080 different possibilities that can happen through that activation. So it feels quite narrow. And anybody that is, listening, what you're going to learn is that each one of these aspects, and you build and you build and you build, you begin to realize, oh goodness, okay. So all of the keynoting builds up, but there's still so much to learn, even though you have it defined. There's so many more aspects of it that are basically open, because say you might have the second line, but you don't have the first, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So you're learning also about all those aspects. So gates, single gate is an inanimate object. So I put this here. So a single gate in an undefined center, it's inanimate. It's waiting. So like I said with our reflectors and our evaluators, they're waiting to have something dock up to them so that they can, see the life force on the other end and be able to bring out their information and gain the wisdom that they need to. So when a gate meets its harmonic gate, meaning the gate on the other end, you have a life force. So if the first gate here, someone with an 8th gate shows up, all of a sudden there's a life force, and between the two of them they bring this real inspiration. So one brings the self-expression, the other one brings the contribution, and between the two there is this beautiful life force that's expressed. So conditioning is an artificial life force. It's theirs. It's not yours. So they have the 8. It's not that you're here designed to contribute. You're designed to bring the self-expression. So the true self is the fixed self. So anything that is completely defined with a channel, this is the fixed self. And we are a combination of nature and nurture. So the nature is here in the fixedness. The nurture is what are we designed to interact and learn from. So the uniqueness of our gates, can be better understood with the context of the entire structure. So one gate resides in one of the 9 centers. So we're just looking at 41 here. One of the 6 circuits, and you guys are going to learn circuitry, you're going to learn streams, you're going to learn all of that, okay? And potentially within one of the 36 channels, it might have a channel. It might be, it's going to be in the potential within 36 channels, one of the 9 awareness streams, or one of the 9 format energies. So format energies are here. We have streams, we have circuits. There's a lot happening in the body graph. So it can be red, right? It could be black, or it could be active. So, a full channel here is active. If it was just, let's just pop back. So say it was the 57 in a defined center with a channel. Of course, there's always going to be a channel if you have a defined center. This basically is an active potential. It's providing an adjective to the verb. So it can be active or dormant. So gate 41 of decrease right here, the gate of contraction, like, do you see all the different things that can happen here? And again, we're going to walk through all of this languaging so that you can understand it a little better. So, take a look. So the 41, it's in the root center. The pressure to feel or not. It's in the collective sensing circuit. Sharing based on experience, because this side of the body graph, which you guys are going to learn, is all about experience. This is all about the collective experience. And this is this sensing circuit, and it's in the stream of feeling. So there's an awareness fueling the desire for an experience that fills you up. So the channel of recognition, a design of focused energy. So there's feelings in here. And as a, per se, a tunnel, it creates a pressure that isn't a mental focus and can surprise others and yourself. So if it's red, it's like, it's not on the surface. It's not a road on the surface. There's a tunnel happening there, and, you're not 100% aware of it. You know that it's happening, but you're not 100% aware of it. So again, can you see how intricate all of this information gets? And, is it important? It's a lot of information, you guys. This is going to get heady. However, once you can grasp it, and we play with it in our live classes, and we play around with the energy, and I coach you on how to, tweak it and look at it in a completely different way, then all of a sudden it is the application and you get it. So one of the books I love the most is The Complete I Ching. I'm telling you that this particular book, which you can get at Human Design America, and no, I don't have any affiliate or anything like that. This particular book, I have so many notes written in it from every single course that I've ever done, that's how I was able to really begin to listen to Ra's information in the gap. The other books that, be happy if you want to grab, you don't have to, at Human Design America. I think all of these original teachings of Ra's are very fun. You don't have to do it, because I'm going to give you a lot of information here. So the pages of the I Ching, basically you get a lot of information. You understand what was looking at this gate, what this gate's looking to in the Rave Mandala, and you also get all the crosses. You get all of the lines, including the gold line, which I love because I find that this can wrap it up really nicely. And then the blue lines, which provides the overview of some of the particular lines. So channels are different than gates. They stand alone as a whole force. Juxtaposition of gates creates something more than just the gates can say, right? There's something new there. So with the 41-30, the 41 is contraction, the 31 is the clinging fire. Well, does that make any sense? But when you bring them together, and you bring it together as this channel of recognizing feelings, totally different aspect there. So the whole is always greater than the sum of their parts, and it is a new consciousness field. It's like a new chemistry. So approach with type construct as well. So the 1222 is a manifesting channel. So there's anger inherent as a theme. It's impactful and mutative. But the 1-8 is actually a projected channel. So there's bitterness inherent in that theme, and it needs to be recognized as a role model. So here's a quick look so that you can understand this, the channels by type. So we have our projected channels. Of course, this would be a reflector. And we have our projected channels. Now take a look. There's a ton of projected channels in a body graph. So even though you might be a manifester, and say you are a manifester with the 4426, well, that actual channel at its core needs to be recognized and invited, even though you are here to initiate yourself as a manifester. What's important is that you're going to notice that there are people that invite you. They recognize and invite this energy out of you. Generated channels. Anything that is touching the sacral center is a generated channel. And all of those, of course, frustration can be at the core theme of this, or pure satisfaction. And then again, the manifestor channels. So that's what's important to see, how each one of these channels has some inherent understanding of, is it here to be invited and recognized? Is there some bitterness that can happen there? Success that happens there? The anger or the peace that can happen, and the frustration and the satisfaction, okay? So, we're just using the 1222 as an example here, and I should say 2212. So the channel of the social being or not. So the type construct is manifesting emotional, empowering, because now we're talking about the circuit group. The empowerment of the circuit group, and again, you're going to learn all about this, is an individuated channel. There's a passion, a flame that has to be built into a fire to grow and develop. Why do I say passion? Well, there's passion built into the solar plex, and you guys know that when we went through those slides at the very beginning when I introduced you to the centers. Self-empowerment leads to the ability to empower others. It takes a long time to empower socially, to be empowered socially. And why do we say time? Well, time is a part of the emotional solar plex. So you see it in its polarity as not social, therefore no empowerment. So there's this polarity of no empowerment or the polarity of empowerment. So if it cannot be empowered, it will get angry. So the root of anger and emotions are there. The emotional authority automatically, is triggered when we have the 2212. So there's emotional, it's melancholic, and we're really going to get into this when we talk about the individual circuitry. It's empowering. It is social, but it's also antisocial. And there can be anger in there. So you see the channel as a whole. Again, layers and layers and layers. So if you guys want to, write these notes and see this, maybe this is a channel that you have, or somebody that has this channel, and all of this stuff is happening within that channel. So again, definition, we condition as we are conditioned. We put our definition into others and they reflect it back to us. So mentally defined, so if you're fixed in the mind, the fixed mind is very narrow and specific and rigid. It is conditioning open and undefined minds. So ultimately, all definition is narrow and rigid. You have no room or openness for others' conditioned influence in terms of conditioning in these areas of your body graph. So definition, fixedness is very narrow. So, more on channel types. Consider how many of each type of channels there are in our 9-centered body graph. It suggests that our species as a Homo sapien in transitus is primarily here to not initiate, but rather wait, to interact with our environment in some way, unless you are a manifester. So to be seen and recognized by the right people at the right time and in the right place for the value it has for the nurturing our outer authority guidance we can provide others. That being unique and differentiated means you do have to step outside of the reflection of the daily transits and conditioning field and allow the transit to support, empower, and share in your growth. And that initiating as a principle within this time and space is mutating. Again, very deep information here. The transits, are there to help us and support us, empower us, and share in our growth. Because it wants us to grow. That's the whole point of this consciousness field. And allowing yourself to relax into the fact that there is nothing that you're missing out on if you just sit and wait. And I don't mean sit on the couch and eat chips. I mean, you're actively moving, but you're waiting for response. So for me, I'm constantly, I'm creating. I would say at least 80% of my waking day is in creation. And then I just get to wait for someone to grab that creation so that I can respond to them asking me for it. Nature and nurture. So nature is what is defined. Nurture is what is open. So nurture overwhelms our nature always because that's the conditioned mind. It's noisy. Sorry about that. There's a 40 there. Looks like on a few of my slides I didn't get those taken off. So in order for nature to operate correctly, you have to have the correct nurture. Meaning, correct environment, correct people in your life, correct interactions, all of a sudden the nature operates correctly. Human design, strategy, and authority brings these two things into balance. We are nature and nurture. The whole point is to honor your nature, to live in the world of nurture. So we want to be completely entrusting our strategy and authority so that whatever environment we have steeped ourselves in, it's okay for us. It's healthy for us. When you are not being conditioned, then you are simply open. You take in the prana of life through your openness when it is not distorted. We are not separate from each other. We are parts of the aspects of the greater whole that makes up the consciousness field. Consciousness expands when we are correct and in balance with our nature and our nurture. Our nature gets to experience the nurture. And you cannot only be your nature. It is both. That's what it's designed to do for us. We are designed to have these experiences. So the 9-centered pressure flow, and we talked about this when we talked about the pressure centers. We are pressured from the head and the root centers toward manifestation, in terms of our flow. But the process is conditioned by the presence of defined, and all the definitions are based on binary flow that aligns or not with the this and the that. There's always the this and the that. If a channel is defined, it's always the this and the that. Like we said in the 2212. It's social, but it's also antisocial. And it assumes differences can integrate for the progress of the whole if they align correctly. So, for example, right? I have a completely open head, completely open ajna, completely open identity center. So I am assuming, and the program assumes, that if I integrate with that other being, then the whole gets to align correctly. Okay, so all the differences on the planet, when we actually integrate and we progress, then the whole is, aligning correctly. So there's always a binary flow of the life force. It's always a this and a that. There is always something new. So something new is the adaptation from mutation and creative change. We are mutative beings. We are designed to be here to mutate. We are not designed to be in the status quo. We are designed to mutate. So life force is a strong life force. Lots of conscious definition is a powerful presence. Some have a lot of life force coming out of one center as an example, and you can feel it. So you might have 2 or 3 channels coming out of, say, the solar plex. Well, people can feel that. They can feel all of that emotional energy. Or, you might only have one. And people, it's not such a strong feeling. So a weak life force, which I don't really even like the word weak, but so that you guys can see the dichotomy of it, lots of unconscious definition and lots of open centers with hanging gates, susceptible to conditioning, needs to hook up for the life force of a channel to function. Reflectors are an example of a weak, of course, we put that in quotations, life force, because they are designed to hook up with other people. They are designed to dock up, right? They are designed to interact with other people. So this is not about good or bad, just different ways to experience life and be with life. So aligning the potential inherent based on your form and your trajectory. And when I talk about trajectory, this is the nodes. The nodes provide us with a trajectory, and we are going to talk about that when we get into deeper aspects of the human design body graph. So look at the quantum inherent in the body graph, not just the detail in the data. This is what the magnetic monopole creates. So by trusting your design, level hardwiring, the mind begins to relax. Because by trusting your design's hard wiring, the mind begins to relax. It is the personality that is affiliated with the self-reflected consciousness. Now, why do we say that? Because the personality crystal sits in the head center. And the head center, actually, even though it in the depiction looks as though it's sitting in the head center and it is correlated to the pineal gland, the personality crystal actually just hovers above the scalp. And what Ra always said was that in Eastern cultures, they always believed in 2 souls. And when he said that, he never fully indicated that the one soul resides as the magnetic monopole, because the liver is also the seat of the soul in Eastern culture. But the personality crystal is actually witnessing our life. That's where the self-reflected consciousness happens. So Ra never came out and said, human design has 2 souls. Never said that. But when you listen to all of the streams of his information, he gives a roundabout way of saying, listen, human design really is, this quantum of information. And there is 2 souls that reside in the human design body graph. So the design crystal and the magnetic monopole are of the earth. Okay, now why do we say that? Ra was told that the design crystal and the magnetic monopole live together inside the earth until such time that a sperm fertilizes an egg. And when that happens, there is a call to the design crystal and the magnetic monopole to be moved up into this creation. Okay? And the design crystal and the magnetic monopole begin to separate as the centers are formed in the human design body graph. Okay? So everything else is a result of the magnetic monopole holding the parts together as we fly through space. And then what you notice is that the personality crystal drops in the moment of birth. And the personality crystal resides in the atmosphere around Earth. So it is then called down at the moment of birth. So aligning and tuning your life force frequency through the mechanics of your strategy and authority also aligns us with the magnetic monopole's trajectory that supports both our form and our unique cognitive potential as witnesses. So we are moving in space, we are flying around, and we are moving in space, this trajectory that we are designed to be on. And then we have our own unique potential as self-reflected consciousness to witness based off of our own unique cognitive understanding, okay? And cognition happens when we allow for strategy and authority to literally allow for the mind to be decluttered so that our cognitive potential can take place. So here are the circuit groups, the main circuit groups. So the circuitry here is individual circuitry. Again, remember how we said how the transits are here for empowerment, for sharing, and support. Well, these are why we use these keynotes, because the individual circuitry is about empowerment. Okay, so anything individual in the human design body graph, if you see it runs basically right down the middle. And then this here is what we call integration. And then this here is what we call centering, which is all about that integration and that centering into self and being that unique individual. This is all about empowerment. And also there is self-empowerment here, and I'm going to show you that as well. The collective circuit group. So it runs all around the outside. This side is experiential. This side is logical. Okay? So we have logic and we have experience, and that provides us with the collective circuitry, and this is all about sharing. Then we have tribal. Okay? And tribal is all about support. Of course, tribes want to support each other. Individuals want to be empowered, the collective always wants to share, and the tribe always wants to support. Now, what I want you to take a look at is this. The individual runs through every center. The collective has absolutely nothing to do with the ego. Interesting, isn't it? Because the ego seems to be spoken a lot about in the collective, and actually the collective doesn't run through there. Is it gaining wisdom on it? Potentially, because it is undefined in the collective aspect of this. So it could be potentially gaining wisdom about it. But do you notice how most of the time the collective is beating up the ego? Yeah, because what we don't have distracts the shit out of us. So the collective circuitry doesn't have any access to the ego. Ooh. Well, if we don't have access to it, we are going to call it out. We are going to call it down. We are going to beat it down. And that's why most of the planet feels completely unworthy. Because the collective is not giving any value to the ego. Can you see how powerful this is, you guys? Then we have the tribal circuit, which is support. Now, the tribal circuitry has zero access to identity. It isn't about identity. It isn't about a collective identity or an individual identity. All the tribe cares about is making and making more, nurturing those more, and moving up the spirit or the material plane and beginning to have this mystical journey of contracts and bargains. It has absolutely nothing to do with identity, and the mental plane is nowhere near the tribe. And of course, what does the tribe beat on? They don't want you to have your own thoughts. They do not want you to have your own identity. Anybody that tries to break out of a tribe is shunned to try to get their own identity. So I grew up in Saskatchewan, here in Canada, and not very far from where I grew up, like actually quite close, and I interacted with many of them. It was a Hutterite colony. Well, in the Hutterite colony, you leave your own individuated identity out of it. You dress the same, you look the same, you wear the same hair. You do not have an identity. But the minute someone wants to break out of that and have an identity, they are shunned. And if they have their own thought pattern, no. It is the monarchy. It is the monarchy, and you guys are going to learn why I'm saying this is the monarchy. It is the monarchy that is providing all of the propaganda and all of the communication and all the language. It has nothing to do with your individual thought or your identity. So when we take a look at this stuff, you can see all of this play out in the world. You can totally see this stuff play out, you guys. So again, the tribal, the individual, the collective, and then I want to show you here this integration, because integration is important. Integration really isn't about a circuit. It's about self-empowerment, and this is really the backbone of human design right here, and our humanness as well. So I'm going to give you guys lots of that information. You're going to have it all. You get it all. So, individual circuitry, empowerment, individuality. This is new and unique. There is a format. Now, I'm going to talk to you guys a lot about these format channels down here. Formats, these 3 format channels provide it provides us with an understanding of how the circuitry is designed to move through our circuit board. So for individual circuitry, all individual circuitry, everything that you see right here on the screen that's highlighted, every one of the gates, every one of the channels has this pulse format. It's very mutative. And individual circuitry always says, you know, it's off, it's off, it's off, it's off, it's off. Oh, poof, it's on. It's off, it's off, it's off, it's off. Poof, it's on. So individual circuitry, because it's so mutative, that there's an aspect of melancholy that runs through all of this energy. Melancholy is totally 100% designed to be in our lives so that we can use that melancholy and those times of melancholy to drop into our own creative muse. Melancholy is not designed to move into a depressive way. However, the conditioning field will make us be depressed because we are not mutating 24/7. We are on a cellular level, don't get me wrong, we are. But things are not mutating in our lives 24/7. Things are mutating through us in the correct time. That is why creativity and melancholy is so important, so that we can come to this place that is quiet inside, we can be creative in that creative muse, working with the flow of energy. And then the moment that that mutation happens in us as individuals, as anybody that has individual circuitry, and so, I'm going to say that probably 99% of the population has at least one gate of this. We let that mutative energy flow through us, and then we are empowered, and then we can present that information when we are invited, when we are asked, when we are initiated, so that we can also help others be empowered. The sense here is very acoustic, and it's really about frequency. It's about hearing, and it is about frequency. So the frequency that we really talk about is the inner ear. Okay? This inner ear that happens. And the 57 and the 22 are also our hearing aspects as well. So the 57 is the right side. The 22 is the left side. I believe I have that right. I might have that backwards. Okay? I might have that backwards. So please don't take that for exact. Let me just look and see in my book, because see, I can't be exact. So 22 is left ear. Sorry, yeah, did I say that? Yeah, I said that. 22 is left ear, 57 is right ear. Now, the emotional wave, it spikes up and it spikes down. We are going to, I showed you that graph when we walked through the centers so that you had an idea. As well, you saw this graph when I showed you guys the your inner authorities as well. It spikes up and it spikes down, but for the most part, it's pretty even keel because it's waiting for that pulse. It's waiting for that spike up. It's waiting for that spike down, okay? Now, again, all of this we are going to go into much more in depth as we walk through each and every channel. Integration. Integration stands on its own as it is not a circuit or a part of a circuit group, but it's an essential aspect of the infrastructure of the human design body graph. It is all about self-empowerment. So this integration piece, this is the design of a human. This is the architecture of a human. This is how to survive as a human. This is how to wake up as a human. And this is how to build and manifest as a human. And again, we're going to totally get into this. This is the human. This is how we integrate our humanness into the spiritual realm. Collective circuitry, sharing. It's projecting into the future, and it is making sense of the past. The format here is both cyclical for the experiential side of the body graph, and then it is concentrated for the logical side of the body graph. And concentrated means stillness, concentrating, focusing. Cycles, you got a beginning, a middle, and an end. So it's always looking at the past. Experience always looks at the past. Logical always looks at the future. And the time is, again, past and future. The sense is visual. So we're looking, we are seeing through the eyes. Okay? And this visual cortex. So the 17 is the right eye. The 11 is the left eye. The emotional frequency here, the crash wave. rises and crashes. And as I had said before, when I talked about the emotional wave, is that this wave has so much expectation in it. You know, it's building and it's building and it's building, and it wants to, it wants to have this like euphoric experience. But sometimes that euphoric experience doesn't happen. And then the emotional wave crashes down because there's these built-in expectations. So what I had indicated is really drop into the anticipation. Now Ra has said this in his teachings as well, that expectation is a real experience killer. We want to be anticipating, juiciness, what's next. But this is all about the past on this side. So we store all these past experiences, and the emotional wave rises and crashes based off of those expectations. And then we have the tribal circuitry. There is no format energy here. As you see, the tribe does not have a format energy. The time of it actually is timeless. We've had tribes on this planet for as long as we've had people on this planet. They are not concerned about time. The touch is, the sense is tactile, so it's touch, and it is smell. And the wave over here for these two and is a ratchet wave. So it builds, it explodes, and then it comes back down. But here, this one is actually the source wave. And we're going to talk a lot about the 6 and the 59 when we get there. But this source wave, it kind of hums along, and then it stalls out. So that's why touch is so important for our emotional people, because touch on the tribal end of this allows us to then, get aware of where we are in the emotional wave. Have we stalled out? Are we ratcheting up and letting a whole bunch of things really bothering us? And, touch allows us to kind of snap out of it. So, how are you going to apply this? Again, this is an overview. This is, still a lot of information. So get a sense of the underlying themes for each one of your channels and each one of your gates. Recognizing how the channels are designed to express themselves at a fundamental level. So let's just review and go right from the top. So you want to use your type. What is the overall energy of your design? Right? What is your type? Are you a builder? Are you an advisor? Are you an evaluator? Are you an innovator? And then the strategy. How are you designed to now interact? Are you waiting for recognition and invitation? Are you waiting to respond? Are you informing prior to you taking action, or are you waiting for a lunar cycle? And your inner authority, the GPS that indicates the correct decision. What is that? Now we want to go to the centers. What's pulling you off? What can you rely on? These are all ways to start building this information and integrating it. Write down all of the keynotes so that, really what the cross of planning brought to us, the cross of planning and the cross of the Maya, was how do we name this? So for the next 7 years, continuing to name what it is important for us. That's, we're building this Maya based off of words and languaging. Channels, the underlying theme of each channel and of each gate. This is how you build the words for the frequency of your design, so that the logical mind, can track the interactions properly. Because the mind wants to play this game with you right now. The mind does not want to let go and let you have control, because it's like, whoa, I've been in control for however many years. So Begin to build this out. Like I said, print off as many designs as you need to. Start writing notes on them and then watch it. You write your notes and you watch, and you write your notes and you watch. Okay, friend. See you in the next module.